Hi everyone, welcome to lesson number 12 on persuasive writing, looking at the topic of climate change. You would not believe how long it took me to make this backwards so that it appears in the right order on your screen. The small stresses of creating online learning. Okay guys, so I'm going to move myself out of the way so I can talk you through today's learning. So your title up here is Analysing Attenborough's Language, and everything that we do today is going to be demanding of you that you analyse the language and the intended effect of a speech. So in the last lesson, we were looking at the explicit versus the implicit meaning in some of Attenborough's words from his premiere speech for Our Planet. You need to make sure, again, that you are watching these lessons in the correct order. If you have not watched last lesson, it'll be much harder to make sense of the learning for today's lesson. You need to go back and watch that first. Those of you, again, that are watching these in the right order, very well done. You can find a link to the speech, a hard copy of it, in the description for this video. Make sure you've downloaded that. You don't necessarily need to print it off, but you do need to have access to it. I will read it out to you as the lesson goes on, and you can pause the video to find quotes at the appropriate moments if you need to, but it's a harder process than you actually having downloaded a copy that you can access separately. All right, so you know what your title is, you know what your learning objective is. Your starter: to spot logos, ethos and pathos in Attenborough's speech. Although you can label and highlight if you have printing facilities, you can get around that by just writing a list in your book of logos, ethos and pathos equals, and then a quote for each to prove where they're being used in his speech. Now, we have had a previous lesson on what logos, ethos and pathos are. Although I will break it down for you, you need to make sure that you've looked at your notes from those previous lessons to make sure that you have a recap of what those words mean. They come from Aristotle, and they come from a way of analysing how persuasive language can be used and the way that it is formulated. Logos comes from the word for word in Greek, really confusingly, but what it means is the ability to use logic, reason, facts, statistics to support your argument, basically. Ethos is our appeal to your credibility, your status, your reputation. So if Sir David Attenborough is name-dropping other well-known figures in science to support his point, he is using ethos. Have a look. There is a really specific example of that we looked at last lesson as well. And the final one, pathos, is our appeal to emotion. So anytime he is using really strong emotive language, you know that he is developing the effect of pathos there. Okay. Now you need to write down logos, ethos, pathos, and next to each one you will need to find an example as I reread you Attenborough's speech. Okay, grab your pens, get ready to go, and I will meet you at the speech shortly. Right, so as I reread you Attenborough's speech from his Our Planet premiere in 2019, you are looking for an example of him using logos, which is facts, reasonable arguments, an example of him using ethos, which is drawing on either his or someone else's reputation and status, and the third one using pathos, which is his appeal to emotion. So you want to quote for each of those. As I read to you, you need to be scanning, looking for each of those. Logos, ethos, pathos. Right, let's give it a go. Your Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, there can surely be no more fitting location than this for the premiere of Our Planet, directly behind me. Behind the enormous screen is a statue of Charles Darwin, whose astonishing understanding of the natural world led to what has been called the greatest idea in human history, the theory of evolution by natural selection. And immediately, guys, we know that one of those has been touched upon, logos, ethos or pathos. Which one is it? Choose a quote, write it down now. Darwin revealed that all species have evolved over time to best exploit the conditions in which they live. He further realised that these conditions are not simply those of geography and climate, but also their relationship to other lives that live alongside. From the delicate codependence of bees and orchids to the dramatic connection between cheetah and gazelle, all life on Earth is both product and contributor to its place in space and time. This complex web of life of which we are a part has been millennia in the making. Whilst Darwin's insights explain how this web came about over 200 years later, we are still only beginning to understand its interconnections and which of these connections are the most vital. Yet what we do know for certain is that these connections can break. From the dinosaurs to my right to other spectacular fossils on my left, we have all tonight been within touching distance of astonishing fragments of ecosystems long gone. As far as we know, there have been 5 major extinctions on our planet, events caused by changes so severe that many species simply can't adapt and as such died out. Right now, we are in the midst of the Earth's 6th mass extinction, one every bit as profound and far-reaching as that which wiped out the dinosaurs. It's almost impossible to grasp as we go about our lives that the rest of life on Earth is experiencing destruction on the scale of that brought by a colossal asteroid collision. But consider these facts. 96% of the massive mammals on our planet today are us and the livestock that we've domesticated. Only 4% is everything else. From elephants to badgers, tigers to bats, 70% of all birds are now domesticated poultry, mostly chickens. Nature once determined how we survive, now we determine how nature survives. One of the things Darwin's work has taught us is that we break nature's connections at our peril. Yet break them we do, at ever greater speed. The impacts of our growing population and our consumption now directly threaten our own future. That magnificent creature up there, whose skeletons hangs up there above us, the blue whale, can give us inspiration. Just 30 years ago, most whale species, including the blue whale, were heading towards extinction. A public outcry led to a global agreement to protect whales, and now most populations are recovering. We've subsequently learned how important whales are to the entire ocean system, including the fish that we eat. So saving these majestic creatures actually benefits us as well. What we did to save the whales, we must now do for all nature. And that is a communications challenge as much as it is a scientific one. The 8-part Our Planet series aims to reach 1 billion people around the world. It celebrates the species and habitats that still remain and reveals what must be protected to ensure both people and nature thrive. I've always believed that few people will protect the natural world if they don't first love and understand it. Many sequences in the Our Planet series reveal nature at its most fascinating and delightful. Others prove that good things do indeed come to those who wait, often over a fairly long time, as the many talented cameramen and women who've recorded all kinds of wonders for us know only too well. But what really makes Our Planet stand out is the clear driving story that runs through the entire series. The natural world is not just nice to have. It fundamentally matters to each and every one of us. This has been a true labour of love for hundreds of filmmakers, cinematographers, conservationists, editors, musicians, production and teams, all of whom have brought their best work to this most important story. A story that could not be more universal or more timely. The ability to tell that story in almost every country on Earth at the same time via Netflix brings the possibility of an unprecedented global understanding of the one place that we all call home. Okay, so there you go. Have another look through this. You will need to replay that section of the video, and you're looking for an example of logos. That's your use of facts, statistics, and evidence to back up the point that he is making. Then you are looking for your evidence of ethos, which is using the credibility or reputation of other figures or of himself to prove his argument. And finally, pathos, you're looking for emotional words, those emotive language features to give you an indication of where he's appealing to emotion. Okay, you need a quote for each listed in your book now. Right, so having completed your starter, we're now going to have a go at the challenge. Why does he use ethos? So ethos is the middle image up here, and as you will know from your notes, it is our appeal to reputation or status or knowledge. So it's name dropping, for example. You're looking for references that are to well-known figures or to his previous experience to prove that the basis of all of the persuasive arguments is knowledge, okay? And somebody who is as well known as David Attenborough is referencing very deliberately well-known other scientists in order to add persuasive power to what he is saying. So using that information now and your example quote that you found for your starter, can you write me down an answer for this challenge? Why does he use that ethos? What's the point of it? Okay, answer your challenge now and I'll see you on the next task. Right, so the next activity is going to require that we answer the questions from the worksheet, and I have put these on the description, okay, so you can download the link to this speech that I've just read out for you, and it has the questions embedded on that. I'm also going to display them on the screen, colour coding them for difficulty level. Your job will be to answer a set number of those, and you can choose the ability level that you think works for you, okay, so you're going to find the questions that you think best fit you, and you're going to try and answer as many of those as you can effectively. So I'll show you those now. Right, so what I'd like you to do is pick 3 questions to answer. If you want a challenge, you're going to try the red ones, they're your hardest. The amber level of challenge is medium difficulty, and there are 2 of those to choose from. But you still need to answer 3 questions. It's just that there are only 2 that are in the medium category, and green is the easier level of questions. I don't mind which you try, but it's up to you to try and think for yourself about the level of difficulty you think is actually appropriate to you. I would always recommend aiming slightly higher than you feel naturally comfortable with. It's when we take ourselves out of our comfort zone with our learning that we're most likely to make progress and develop. It doesn't matter if you get these wrong. It's about giving it a go. Aim hard. If you can't do it, move down a level. Okay, so your task now, answer 3 of these in your book or on your paper, and you're basing your answers on the speech that is in the description for you to download, and you can rewind the video and replay me reading that speech to help you answer the questions. I'd recommend you choose your questions now, copy them down onto your paper, then replay me reading the speech, and as I'm reading it, try and answer some of those questions. Right guys, give that a go, pause the video, do your best. Right, we're now going to try round 2 of questions, and these are for questions 9 through to 14. Again, I'm going to ask you to choose 3 from these questions here, and you have got the same principle as for the last ones. Red is the harder level, amber medium, and green for the easier ones. You need to try and answer a total of 3 of them. Do the same thing that you did for the last one. You're going to copy the 3 questions you want to try and have a go at answering into your book now, then replay the video where I read you Attenborough's speech, and then you're going to try and answer questions as you're listening. All right, good luck with that, everyone. Have a go now. Okay, so you have had a go at answering some questions with different difficulty levels. Now, all of that will have prepared you to be able to write about his speech. So we're going to now think about how you could express the purpose and the effect of Attenborough's use of language in that speech. And the question I've given you here is at the top. I'm going to grab my highlighter to help you to see where I'm looking. So we're looking up here. Okay, how does the writer use language to express ideas about climate disaster? Okay, so you're going to think about the key words here. How does the writer use language? Yeah, that's going to be your key point for that, is to identify fire actions or his appeal to logos, ethos and pathos, to express ideas about climate disaster. And that's important because it tells us that the focus of this question is not on what he just thinks about climate change in general, but about the destructive power of climate change. What I've given you below are some points that you could make. So for those of you thinking this is quite hard, you've got a series of bullet points here that you can use to help you to write a paragraph. I'm looking for just one paragraph, that is all. And I've given you a structure that you can follow in the white box over here. So we're looking for a sentence that might begin, Attenborough uses language to express his ideas about climate change. When we write about writers' work, we tend to refer to them using their surname rather than first and second name, okay? You can refer to him using his full title if you wish, as Sir David Attenborough, but Attenborough uses language to express his ideas about climate change. He thinks. Tell me what you think he thinks. Can you embed a quote to prove it here? He uses language methods like, can you identify some of the methods he uses? Does he use inclusives? Yes, he does. Does he use an appeal to ethos? Yes, he does. He mentions Charles Darwin to support his argument. And you want to say why you think he's using these. So in here, you'd name two of the methods from Fire Actions or Ethos, Logos and Pathos. You may quote for each as well to prove that you're right. And then following the word to, you want to tell me why he's doing that, what the purpose or effect might be. Then expand that explanation. These help him convey his opinion that. All right, so what is he trying to make us understand? And to answer that, you'll go back to the keywords in the question to express his ideas about climate disaster, okay? And his vision that actually humans need to take this more seriously and work together to try and improve the outcome for our planet. Here are some points that you may want to use to develop your explanations here or here, okay? Or here. Attenborough is concerned with the state of the planet and how rapidly humans are destroying the natural world. Beginning of the speech, the delicate balance of nature is a point that he makes. You might be able to reference that. He uses ethos with his reference to Charles Darwin. The alliteration and emotive language in delicate, dramatic, emphasises complex and delicate balance of the natural world. You've also got the fact he uses with 200 years later, we're still only beginning to understand its interconnections. Humans are still vastly uneducated and unaware of how to manage the planet, that should be. Attenborough wants to highlight the need for humans to become more aware of the planet, the problems it faces and caused by us, so we can begin to change it. And of course, change it for the better. That's his point, is that we can improve the welfare of our entire world. Okay, so here are points to help you, but you are following this structure here to help you to write up your paragraph now. So pause the video and give that a go, guys. Just do your best. Okay, so just ignore the words that are behind me. It's not relevant because it would be what we'd be doing in class, which is different to what we're going to be able to do online. But we are going to have a go at self-assessing your answer now for the last task, where you were writing up your paragraph to explain Attenborough's ideas about climate disaster. And I've given you here a mark scheme, and this is based on what you would get at GCSE if you were answering a language question, which is what we are modelling all of our lesson material on here for you. Okay, so we are going to have a look at the criteria here, and I'm going to ask you to guess which of these bands you think you fit best. Do you think you overall are perceptive and detailed in what you say? Well, if you followed the structure that I gave you for the last slide and you found quotes as evidence and you've named techniques and you've explained the effect, you are probably in this band here. As long as you're doing it in detail and you're really explaining why he's got the view he's got and how we can see that through his use of language and why that's persuasive, you will be up here. Okay, and that's perceptive and detailed. If you mostly followed it, but maybe took a few shortcuts and didn't really develop your explanations, you may be clear in your answer, okay, and that would be that you're identifying a technique. You might explain them a bit, you might explain that a quote is relevant, but it's not done in the same degree of detail that might be used for the level 4. down at some understanding. You might partly identify and explain techniques, but not always accurately. You're not sure if you're naming the right techniques. Maybe you haven't named any techniques at all. You might have just used one quote instead of using several quotes, and your language is a bit simple and basic. Then you're probably down in some understanding. And for level 1, no techniques, 1 or 2 quotes, very basic language use. Okay, so try and have a rough assessment of where you think you're at. If you're finding this hard, you could always take a picture of your work and send it to a friend, ask them to have a look and have a go at self-assessing it for you. You can refer them to this part of the video, especially if they're another year 7, or maybe call over a sibling or mum or dad to have a look, or whoever's at home to have a look at what you might be writing, and ask them to help you reflect using this screen here on what level they think your answer seems to fit. All right, and you need to give yourself a level for where you think you're at. Then within that level, you're going to choose a number between, say, 10 and 12 if you're in level 4. 10 would be bottom of the band, 11 middle, and 12 top of the band. And same for these ones. So put yourself down with a level first, then a mark. Then I want you to set yourself your what went well or your even better if, as we would in class, and you're doing all of this in green pen. Okay, complete those tasks now, guys. Right, really well done for sitting through the lesson and giving it your best shot. That is all we ever ask of you, that you give it a good effort and you try and take on board the information that you're accessing here and in the speeches that I provide the links to. Really well done for completing yet another video for English. Give me your feedback. I'd really love to hear from you, see some examples of your work. Use your channels, show my homework, send me an email, or send it to your normal class teacher and they can forward it on to me. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much. Keep safe, keep well, and be kind.